welcome, Xavier.
Hello.
So, so again, yeah, so Xavier's going to be talking to us about the writing process. So Xavier, if you could just go ahead and introduce yourself, let us know like what some projects you've done, maybe stuff you're working on now, anything like that.
Well, my name is Xavier Frith. I'm currently a student at Georgia State University for psychology and film. Great combination there. Uh, Primarily, I work as a screenwriter. That's my sort of thing. That's my wheelhouse. That's what I love to do. I've also done a lot of bit things such as like acting, VA, directing, even got my start doing lights. Um, in terms of projects I've done in the past, I've mostly done a lot of like short films for the for like a festival circuits. I think one of my personal favorites is from the 48-hour film festival that I actually worked with you on. I have the poster we did for right behind me.
Yeah,
Lots of fun.
that was a fun one.
All right.
Okay, well, great. So my first question for you is, what's a usual workflow for one of your writing projects?
Usually when I want to get into a writing project, I like starting with what I just simply refer to as an aha moment. I don't like try to force myself through something. I gotta like have that aha, and that gets me started. Once I have that aha is when I need to start getting that workflow going. I sit down, I pull up several different PDFs, Word documents, Celtics, my preferred script writing program. I scatter a bunch of papers and notepads all around me. It's a mess, but just so I can always have an outlet to turn to whenever like I have an idea I want to think through or I have something I want to type through. Uh, and I like just having a nice flow to my work, so to speak.
Yeah.
Because I want to make sure I still enjoy what I'm doing, and that's like a big part of my process is making sure that my heart and passion is still in it.
Yeah.
And part of that goes into making sure I don't forget about the project, because I want to make sure everything I work through reaches a natural end. I can't just abandon it. It needs to get to that point. And normally how I do through that is like I allocate like at least an hour, maybe 2 hours every day to the project. That doesn't necessarily mean I have to sit down from my laptop or typewriter, whatever people use, and just like type away. That could simply just mean I'm just sitting on my couch and just like with my notepad, just scribbling down a bunch of ideas. Even if they're all bad, I still
Yeah.
dedicated time. And if you dedicate time, that means you still have passion. And I feel like that's like the major part of my workflow is passion.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point because I know like myself, I used to think I wanted to be a writer in high school, but I never had the determination to like I have all these like unfinished scripts because I never had the patience to keep writing. So I think that's cool that you dedicate time each day to work on it. Um,
Of
so
course.
yeah. Uh, so what are some do's and don'ts for writing?
I had to really think about this one a lot harder than I thought I would,
Yeah.
just because writing itself, at least to me, is the most freeing part of the entire filmmaking experience.
Hmm.
There, at least in my position right now, there's not someone like on my neck being like, no, it has to like meet these certain requirements, these certain ideologies that the studio requires. And that could happen to me very much one day. But right now, I'm very much free. So I had to really stop and think. I really had to stop and think about this because writing should not be controlling. So I guess that would be a good don't be too strict on yourself.
Yeah.
Don't try to like have everything hammered down like okay at 3 p.m. I got to make sure I do this, or it's like I'm gonna have this script done at this specific date and time and like all this stuff. At the same notion, don't be too easy on yourself, because
Yeah.
if you're too easy, again, that's how you lose passion and then forget the project even existed. So I'd say it's always good to have like maybe a support system like helping you keep going, uh, like a very rough schedule, I'd say, but not too strict. Um, Probably the first do I wrote is invest in notebooks, note cards, apps, anything and everything, and always keep it around you, on your person, every room of your place. That is literally what I do.
Okay.
There is one. There's one in my nightstand, one in my desk. There's one over here. There's one in my kitchen. Like I don't like being too far. Like I got one right in front of me actually, just in case. Um, because you never know when the aha is gonna hit.
Yeah.
And it's always good to have something like right there so you can just start writing it down, figuring it out in the moment, because the moment is when you have it. Um, I think another big do that, because I mentioned just how freeing it is, because this is the start of like any big project, like get filmed to turn something. I think like the best thing someone can learn is other jobs. Learn the directing, learn cinematography, understand acting, because you can't expect other people to understand what you wrote. You will understand it in any language you put it in, but you need to also understand that someone has to film this, someone has to act this and interpret what you put. So the best thing you can do is to make sure it's formatted in a way that even a 5-year-old can understand, essentially. Um, let's see here. I wrote some others down. Practice. Practice is a big do. Always practice. There's a lot of like just prompts you could work on, like several apps, subreddits that I follow, because it doesn't need to be a project that you actually see through. It's just something that keeps your creative juices flowing, keep you writing and honing in your craft, because you'd be surprised how easy it is to um, oh, and I wanted to say, this is the biggest one that I think it took me a long time to learn this. So I think it's best that anyone who's wanting to get into like screenwriting and writing in general needs to learn. Don't be afraid to let go. That is like the biggest thing. Because like I know I was talking about a natural end, but that doesn't necessarily mean you finish the project. There could be a point in time where it's just not working, you can't get it to work, and like the passion drifting away, so it's best to just let the project go. Or say you have the script and you sell it to Netflix. That's really cool, but that means you are letting go of it because you're done.
Yeah.
You sold it away, you're done, and you need to be okay with that. Um, or, and this is like a big one, a lot of like stuff I write stems from one singular idea, like a scene or a moment that I'm just like, yes, this is what brings it all together. And then I just start writing, and then eventually that scene just doesn't work anymore. And I'm like, but that's like the scene. But I have to be okay to let it go because it just doesn't work. You can't compromise the rest of the script for this one scene. Um, yeah, there's always that point where you just gotta let it go. It's rough, but
Yeah.
it's yeah.
Yeah, I definitely get that because in the entrepreneurship world, that's a big problem too. It's like sometimes you think you have the greatest idea, but then you start asking people, "Would you buy this?" And then they're like, "No," and you have to completely come up with a new thing. So, yeah, I feel like learning
Right.
to let go. That's just good life advice.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah,
Because I promise you, you can't make everything amazing.
yeah,
Because like an example I like to go towards is like Quentin Tarantino. Like a lot of people like idolize him, saying, "Oh my goodness, he got the perfect record, the perfect 10." I watched, I think, Death Proof,
yeah,
and not good. It's kind of bad,
yeah.
and that just goes to show it's like not everything is going to be a home run. Not everything should be a home run. You gotta learn. You gotta adapt in order to grow.
Yeah. Yeah, well, and of course, I mean that's all relative because I mean I've never been a big Quentin Tarantino fan,
Right.
and so I wouldn't consider his body of work perfect at all. That may be a hot take, but That's
No,
my
no, absolutely, absolutely.
yeah.
I can vibe with that. It's just the first one that comes to my head.
Yeah, no, I get what you're saying. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, so what advice, you've already given a lot of advice, but what kind of other pieces of advice do you have for aspiring writers and filmmakers?
I came up with this like yesterday, and I told this one to you already, and so I'm going to use now to say it. And wrote down, there needs to be a madness to your method.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it's not your method. That's probably like the best advice I can ever give you. Um, because a lot of people say every story's already been told, and that's in a way it could be true, but at the same time, it's not true at all because you haven't told your story yet.
Yeah.
Any idea can be an idea that's already been said, but it's not the same because you haven't told it. And the best way to tell it is by making sure it's your story.
Yeah.
Add your madness to your method so people know it's your story. Um, because like they're like I'm trying to think of like a good example, but like you have all these different directors throughout and writers throughout time who just come up with these insane ideas
Yeah.
that you correlate to someone else's idea, but you identify that it's their vision, their madness.
Yeah.
Because like you have people like a James Gunn who took a property that people were already familiar with, they already seen the gimmicks and all that, and he added his madness to his method and made it into something absolutely incredible.
Yeah.
Do that to Jordan Peele and Edgar Wright. Go back, you got like A Trip to the Moon, you got The Shining, you have all these different films, all these different stories that in a way have already been told one way or another,
Yeah.
or the ideas that just sound absolutely crazy, but it's the craziness that makes them work.
Yeah. Well, and I remember when we were talking about this earlier too, I was bringing up Werner Herzog. And I know one thing I took away from the Werner Herzog themed class I took in college was that he wasn't ever trying to find an original story. He was always making the goal to kind of evoke emotions that essentially would allow you to reach this higher truth and make you feel things that you didn't know you could feel.
Yes.
And so I think that I mean a lot of people consider Werner Herzog a complete madman. That's why I bring him up. But to circle back to what you were saying earlier about passion, I mean, you can't really have madness without passion. So
Mm-hmm.
so that's definitely
Absolutely.
yeah.
Keep the madness, keep the passion. That brings forth your method.
Yes. All right. Well, that is all the questions I have. So, Xavier, thank you so much for talking with me. And I always like to ask, do you have any shameless plugs, YouTube channels, Instagrams, blogs, anything you want to raise awareness about?
Oh my goodness, so many. I could do so many shameless plugs, but I honestly don't got any. Personally, I just say subscribe to or follow your channel, follow yours, follow your Instagram, follow eKat
Yes,
Productions.
definitely do that too.
I'm hoping to work on some stuff soon, and maybe I'll post it to my Instagram that's tagged here. Got a lot of stuff in the works. Me and you are, I think, actually trying to work forward on a project. So, hey, maybe that could be an eKat production, huh? Yeah. I could use.
Yes. Yeah. I'm excited to start working on your next project with you. All right.
Like so.
All right. Well, thank you everyone for joining us. Whether you tuned in live or whether you're going to watch the recording. And have a good day, Xavier.
You as well.
All right. Bye.
Bye.